Hi, Mark. Uh,
Hi, Marina.
Thank you for agreeing talking to us today. I really appreciate it. I just wonder if I could ask you a couple questions about your experience in the QE, with the QE and our org. But before I do that, can you please introduce yourself? Tell me what is your status now, where do you work, and for how long you already work in the IT industry?
Sure. So I'm Mark Tsimelzon. I'm currently an engineering director in Meta, specifically in WhatsApp. So I lead the WhatsApp organization in London. But even though I'm based in London, I spent most of my career in Silicon Valley, where you and I met. And this was 20 something years ago. But the past 6 years I've lived in London.
Oh, wow. So that's right, already 20 years, more than 20 years in the
Yeah,
business. So
yeah.
can you tell me your observation, like you working in the IT already more than 20 years, I would say, right? We
Yeah.
started to work together in corporate about 20 years ago, but you like about 30 years in the field probably. So what's your observation? How QA engineering is evolving through those years?
Yeah, so there has been a lot of change, right? So if you look back 10, 15 years, 20 years ago, there wasn't much QA there. And for example, when Facebook, now Meta, but back then it was Facebook, got started, it didn't even use QAs. So the thinking was that engineers should just do testing. And this was okay when you have like a young startup and it's a consumer product. Maybe you don't need necessarily QAs. But as soon as your company grows, your user base grows, or if your product is doing something more important. So for example, you and I worked in the medical field, you definitely need QA. And even there you have different gradations. Companies typically start with manual QA, but then they realized that's a very inefficient way of doing QA. So they tried to do automation, but doing automation is hard. There are many different kinds of automation testing. There's integration testing, there is end-to-end testing, there's performance testing, there's unit testing. So there are all these different kinds of tests. So I think companies generally struggle with getting their QA program sort of up to a good level. And I think that's exactly where what you are offering is so valuable, because it's kind of, you have a program, you have a technology platform, you have people who are trained to use this platform. So I think that's a pretty great advantage.
Well, thank you. And what do you think, like, with your experience with QA when you're hiring them, what would be like the qualities that you will look for? What would be the ideal candidate, especially for the startups when you just hire manual QE?
Yeah, look, so I think first you need smart people, right? I mean, some people think, oh, QA is just easy. You just click on some buttons, you just check if the product works. I always say that actually programming is easier because you just think about the main case, hey, how to make things
Mm.
done, but you don't think about every possible way as an engineer, as a developer, how the product may break or may not be very intuitive to a human being. And I think that's where good QAs come in. They know how to break products, right? That's why software engineers always joke that it always works for us, but QAs know how to
That's
break things. And that's a great quality. I think you can train it, but it also helps to be kind of a bit smart, kind of to begin with. I don't think everybody can be QA. I think there is some level of intelligence and hard working required. It's not an easy job.
Well, thank you. And we've worked together for many years already. Why you've decided to work with us to begin with? What's different about our students than a key that you hire from like outside from the open market?
Yeah, I think as I already hinted, it's the fact that you provide the whole sort of program, right? So if I just hire a number of separate QEs, I mean, first, it will be more expensive, but second, they'll all come trained on different platforms. They'll have different ideas. They'll be arguing with each other half the time about how to properly do
So,
QE. For you, kind of what you bring, like I said, it's a combination of having the right tools and the people who know how to use these tools and who have the overall approach to testing. And I feel that's extremely valuable. And that's what companies are ready to pay for.
well, thank you so much for the good review. But what do you think, like how fast does, because a lot of companies have problem with hiring juniors, right? They think it takes too long to train them. So from your experience, how fast our students get up to speed and actually become valuable members of the team?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, training somebody from scratch takes too long, but that's why kind of your advantage is you bring people who are already pre-trained, and then I think in a couple of weeks they already become valuable members of the team. They start finding bugs, they start filing those bugs, they start building relationships with engineers. You hear their names in meetings. So I feel that's it. I mean, if somebody says, "Oh, it should take QA or QE 3 months to get up to speed," something is wrong there. There should be an ROI faster.
Okay, thank you. And about quick careers, from your experience, what do you see? So how those people grow, or is it a place to grow for key folk who start from the manual testers or even junior automation?
Yeah, look, I mean, it doesn't matter where you start, right? As long as you keep learning, and as long as you're not afraid to show some leadership qualities, kind of assume initiatives, right? Take responsibility, start training others. I've seen testers grow pretty fast and start leading teams, right? I mean, you and I know some people who started very, very kind of young and naive, and they didn't know anything up front, but then now they are managing teams. They're doing very well.
Yep, I agree. I think it's a lot of potential. If people really trying, they can grow pretty fast. And the last question, what would be your advice to my students or to people who actually just trying to enter the field of IT, not necessarily my student?
Yeah, I would say don't hesitate and just do it, right? And don't listen to people who are saying, oh, we'll have AI soon, AI will test everything. I think that's completely wrong. I think, in fact, AI makes things much harder to test. I think, like a normal program, you can always say, this is my program, this is what's expected. Is the output right or not? AI is much more complicated. So actually, AI needs much more testing. So I feel that the kind of the QA field will be growing for a long time. I do not see any reasons why somebody who is excited about it should not go into this career.
Thank you so much for your time, Mark. I really appreciate it. And I hope it will help our students and encourage them to study and get into the field and do not be afraid.
Of course, I'll be very happy.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.